Beverly Hills millionaire vanished during a remodel. A contractor later found his watch in wet cement. In the sun-drenched hills of Beverly Hills, where palm trees swayed lazily against the backdrop of sprawling estates and the distant hum of Los Angeles traffic, lived Alexander "Alex" Hargrove, a self-made millionaire whose life seemed pulled straight from a glossy magazine. At 52, Alex had built his fortune in real estate development, turning modest properties into luxury havens for the city's elite. His own home, a modernist mansion perched on a quiet cul-de-sac off Rodeo Drive, was a testament to his success. Glass walls that framed panoramic views of the city below, an infinity pool that shimmered like liquid sapphire under the California sun, and manicured gardens where bougainvillea bloomed in vibrant pinks and oranges. Mornings often started with the scent of fresh coffee wafting from his state-of-the-art kitchen, where he'd sip from a porcelain mug while scrolling through market reports on his tablet. The air was always warm, carrying the faint, salty tang from the Pacific Ocean miles away, mixed with the earthy aroma of jasmine from the neighboring yards. Alex wasn't the flashy type, despite his wealth. He drove a sleek black Tesla, not some over-the-top sports car, and his wardrobe favored tailored button-downs in soft neutrals over ostentatious suits. Born in a working-class neighborhood in Pasadena, he'd clawed his way up through sheer grit, starting with a small flip house during the recession that ballooned into a portfolio worth tens of millions. "I don't chase the spotlight," he'd say with a modest chuckle to friends at dinner parties, his voice steady and warm, laced with the faint Midwestern twang he'd never quite shaken from his youth. "I just build things that last." His days were a rhythm of meetings in high-rise offices downtown, followed by evening jogs along the winding paths of Franklin Canyon, where the crunch of gravel underfoot and the chirp of birds offered a rare escape from the constant buzz of his phone. Family anchored Alex in a way his empire never could. He'd been married to Elena for 25 years, a poised interior designer with sharp green eyes and a laugh that could light up the gloomiest boardroom. They met at a charity gala in Santa Monica, back when Alex was still proving himself in the cutthroat LA real estate scene. Elena, originally from a tight-knit Mexican-American family in East LA, brought warmth and color to their home, vibrant throw pillows on the leather sofas, family photos lining the hallway walls showing vacations in Big Sur and Tuscany. Their two kids, Mia and Jordan, were the heart of it all. Mia, 22, was studying architecture at UCLA, often crashing at the house on weekends with sketches of sustainable designs tucked under her arm. "Dad, your pool's cool, but imagine if it collected rainwater," she'd tease over breakfast, her dark curls tied back in a ponytail, eyes sparkling with that youthful idealism. Jordan, 19, was the quieter one, a computer science major at Caltech who preferred coding marathons in his room to the social whirl of college life. Alex adored them fiercely. The kind of father who coached their soccer teams in the early years and now surprised them with spontaneous trips to the Santa Monica Pier for cotton candy and Ferris wheel rides. But beneath the polished surface, Alex carried the quiet weight of ambition. Lately, he'd been talking nonstop about expanding the mansion, a full remodel to add a home gym, a wine cellar, and a state-of-the-art media room. "It's time to future-proof this place," he'd explained to Elena one evening as they sat on the terrace, the sunset painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The city lights twinkled like stars below, and a gentle breeze rustled the olive trees in their yard. Elena sipped her Chardonnay, her brow furrowing slightly. "Alex, we've got everything we need. Why shake things up now?" He reached for her hand, his calloused fingers, remnants of hands-on construction days, interlacing with hers. "Because life's too short not to build something even better. For us, for the kids. Trust me, it'll be worth it." She smiled, though a flicker of worry crossed her face. Alex had always been a workhorse, but this project felt personal, almost urgent. The decision came after a routine checkup where his doctor mentioned the importance of wellness spaces in combating stress. Alex dove in headfirst, hiring a reputable contracting firm led by Marco Ruiz, a no-nonsense veteran with over 2 decades in LA's high-end builds. Marco, with his salt-and-pepper hair and a toolbox scarred from years of labor, met Alex on site one crisp October morning. The air was alive with the distant roar of leaf blowers from estate gardens and the sharp scent of eucalyptus. "Mr. Hargrove, this is a beauty," Marco said, wiping sweat from his forehead as they toured the property. "But yeah, we can make it epic. Foundation work first. Gotta pour new concrete for the extension." Alex nodded enthusiastically, clapping Marco on the back. "Make it solid, Marco. I want this to stand for generations." They shook on it, the deal sealed with blueprints spread across the kitchen island, Elena watching from the doorway with a mix of excitement and apprehension. As preparations ramped up, Alex's routine shifted subtly. He'd linger longer at home, reviewing permits and material samples, his excitement palpable. Mia noticed it during a family dinner one Friday night, the table laden with Elena's homemade enchiladas, steam rising in fragrant clouds. "Dad, you're like a kid at Christmas with this remodel," she said, passing the salsa. Jordan smirked, pushing his glasses up his nose. "Just don't disappear into the construction dust." Alex laughed, raising his glass. "No chance of that. This is our future right here." The words hung in the air, innocent then, as the clink of silverware and easy banter filled the room. Outside, the Beverly Hills night settled in, streetlights casting golden pools on the pavement, oblivious to the shadows that sometimes lurk in even the sunniest lives. What if the life you cherish could unravel in an instant? If this story has you hooked on the mysteries of everyday lives, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We've got more tales of the unexplained coming your way. Your support means the world to stories like these. Alex threw himself into the details, sourcing Italian marble for the floors and eco-friendly insulation, his calls to suppliers echoing through the house. Elena appreciated the vision but worried about the disruption, the noise, the mess, the temporary upheaval in their sanctuary. "We'll manage," Alex assured her one afternoon in the garden, where bees hummed around blooming roses and the sun warmed their skin. He pulled her close, kissing her forehead. "This is for all of us." Friends like his old college buddy, Tom, ribbed him over golf at the Brentwood Country Club, the fairways lush and green under a cloudless sky. "Remodeling at your age? Careful, Alex, or you'll end up buried in blueprints." Alex just grinned, swinging his club with precision. "Nah, this is living." Little did they know how those words would echo in the months to come, as the remodel's first phase loomed, promising transformation but delivering something far darker. The morning of November 12th broke clear and crisp over Beverly Hills, the kind of Southern California day where the sky stretched endlessly blue and the temperature hovered in the low 70s, perfect for outdoor work. Alex Hargrove woke early, as usual, the first rays of sun filtering through the floor-to-ceiling windows of his bedroom. He stretched, feeling the familiar ache in his shoulders from yesterday's site walk-through, then padded downstairs in his robe, the hardwood floors cool underfoot. Elena was already in the kitchen, blending a smoothie, the whir of the machine mixing with the soft jazz playing from the speakers. "Big day today?" she asked, glancing over with a smile, her hair still tousled from sleep. "Yeah." "Foundation pour starts at 9, Alex replied, pouring himself coffee. The rich aroma filled the air, grounding him amid the excitement buzzing in his veins. He leaned against the counter, watching her move with that effortless grace she'd always had. "Marco's crew is solid. Should be done by afternoon. I'll stick around to oversee it." Mia shuffled in next, yawning, her UCLA hoodie zipped up against the morning chill seeping through the open sliding doors. "Don't let them mess up the pool deck, Dad," she said, grabbing a banana from the fruit bowl on the island. Jordan followed, headphones around his neck, mumbling something about a coding deadline. Breakfast was quick, oatmeal and fruit, the family chatting about weekend plans over the clatter of spoons. Outside, the neighborhood stirred, a distant lawnmower hummed, and sprinklers hissed softly on manicured lawns, misting the air with a faint rainbow sheen. By 8:30, Alex was dressed in khakis and a light polo, his work boots laced up by the garage door. He kissed Elena goodbye on the terrace, the jasmine vines heavy with dew brushing his arm. "Call me if anything comes up," she said, her hand lingering on his. "I love you." He squeezed her fingers, that warm assurance in his eyes. "Love you more. See you tonight, dinner out to celebrate?" She nodded, watching as he climbed into his Tesla, the electric hum purring to life. The car glided down the winding driveway, past the wrought iron gates that swung open with a soft click, merging onto the quiet streets lined with luxury sedans and the occasional jogger in neon gear. At the house, Marco Ruiz arrived right on time, his white pickup truck pulling up with a gravel crunch, followed by 2 flatbeds loaded with rebar, forms, and bags of concrete mix. The crew, 5 guys in hard hats and dusty jeans, unloaded efficiently, their banter in a mix of English and Spanish cutting through the morning quiet. "Oi, this place is primo," one said, eyeing the infinity pool that overlooked the canyon. Marco nodded, clipboard in hand, as he met Alex at the side yard where the extension would rise. The ground there was already excavated, a rectangular pit about 20 feet by 30, its earthen walls braced with wooden forms. The air smelled of turned soil and fresh-cut wood, undercut by the faint chemical tang of the ready-mix truck that rumbled up the street moments later. "Morning, Mr. Hargrove," Marco greeted, shaking Alex's hand firmly. His face was weathered, lines etched from years under the relentless LA sun. "Everything's set. We'll pour the footings first. Let it cure overnight before the slab." Alex clapped him on the shoulder, peering into the pit. "Looks good. Just make sure it's level. Don't want any settling issues down the line." The crew got to work, the concrete pump extending its arm like a mechanical snake, gray slurry gushing into the forms with a steady thrum. Alex watched from the edge, arms crossed, occasionally pointing out spots on the blueprint he'd brought along. The sun climbed higher, warming the flagstone patio, and by 10:30 the pour was in full swing. Dust motes danced in the sunlight, and the rhythmic slosh of wet concrete filled the air, punctuated by the workers' calls, "Mas por aquí!" and "Watch that rebar!" Around noon, Elena texted Alex a photo of the kids at school, Mia posing dramatically outside her lecture hall, Jordan buried in his laptop. He smiled, typing back a thumbs up before slipping his phone into his pocket. Marco handed him a bottle of water from the cooler, condensation beating on the plastic. "Hotter than expected today," Marco noted, wiping his brow with a bandana. "You sticking around for the finish?" Alex nodded, glancing at his watch, a sleek stainless steel Rolex he'd bought himself after closing his first big deal, its face glinting in the light. "Yeah, wouldn't miss it. This is the foundation, literally." They shared a laugh, the kind that came easy between men who appreciated hard work. Alex wandered inside briefly to grab a sandwich from the fridge, the cool blast of AC a relief against his sun-warmed skin. He ate on the patio, overlooking the crew as they smoothed the wet surface with trowels, the concrete glistening like wet slate. By 2 p.m., the pour was wrapping up. The pit was filled, the excess slurry hosed away, leaving a smooth expanse that would harden into the base of Alex's dream addition. Marco signaled the all-clear, the pump truck retracting with a groan. "All done, boss. We'll backfill tomorrow and start framing." Alex stood at the edge, satisfied, the faint vibration of the work still humming in the ground. "Great job, team. Beers on me next week." The crew packed up, trucks rumbling away one by one, leaving behind the earthy scent of fresh concrete and the quiet that follows a job well done. Alex checked his watch again, 2:15, then turned toward the house, intending to change and head to a quick meeting downtown. That's when things blurred. Elena later recounted the call that never came, the dinner reservation that stayed empty. Alex's Tesla sat untouched in the driveway, keys on the hall table inside. His phone buzzed once more in his pocket, unanswered, as the afternoon sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the new pour. Marco drove off with a wave, assuming Alex had stepped out for a call. But by evening, as Elena returned from picking up the kids, worry creased her face. The house felt too still, the patio empty save for a half-eaten sandwich on a plate. "Alex?" she called, her voice echoing off the glass walls. No answer. Mia checked the backyard. Jordan scanned the garage. Nothing. The remodel site loomed silent, the concrete beginning its slow cure under the fading light, hiding whatever secrets it might hold. Panic set in slowly at first, then like a wave. Elena dialed his cell, straight to voicemail, his warm voice prompting to leave a message. "Honey, where are you? Call me back." Friends were texted. Tom from the golf club included. "Seen Alex today?" No one had. By nightfall, the Beverly Hills police were notified, a routine missing person report filed over the phone. Officers arrived around 10 p.m., their cruiser lights flashing blue against the mansion's white stucco. Detective Lara Voss, a no-frills investigator with a notepad and a skeptical eye, took statements in the living room. The air was thick with the scent of Elena's chamomile tea, gone cold on the coffee table. "He was here all day," Elena explained, her voice trembling, hands clasped tightly, "with the contractors. Then, gone." Mia paced, tears streaking her face. "Dad wouldn't just leave. Something's wrong." The search of the property yielded nothing, no signs of struggle, no forced entry. The remodel site was cordoned off with yellow tape fluttering in the night breeze, flashlights sweeping the fresh concrete that still held a damp sheen. Voss knelt by the edge, her beam catching something metallic glint faintly beneath the surface, but it was just rebar. "We'll check the footage from the gates," she assured them, though her tone carried the weight of routine cases. Neighbors gathered on the street, whispers rippling like the canyon wind. "Hargrove? The real estate guy?" The city lights twinkled mockingly below, as if the sprawling metropolis had swallowed Alex whole. In those first hours, hope clung like dew, maybe a forgotten errand, a phone left behind, but deep down, Elena felt the chill. The man who'd built everything from nothing had vanished without a trace, right in the heart of their perfect world. The days following Alex Hargrove's disappearance blurred into a haze of frantic activity and mounting dread in the Hargrove household. The modernist mansion, once a beacon of polished tranquility, now felt like a hollow shell, its glass walls reflecting the family's unraveling composure under the relentless Southern California sun. Elena moved through the rooms like a ghost, her green eyes shadowed by sleepless nights. The scent of untouched coffee lingering in the kitchen where Alex had last stood. Mia and Jordan hovered close, their youthful energy sapped into quiet vigilance. Mia scrolling through her father's emails on his laptop in the living room, the soft glow of the screen illuminating her furrowed brow, while Jordan paced the terrace, phone in hand, redialing contacts that yielded only voicemails and concerned replies. By the morning after, Detective Lara Voss had escalated the case from a simple missing person to a full investigation, her team arriving at the cul-de-sac just as the neighborhood's daily rhythm kicked in. Luxury SUVs gliding past, gardeners trimming hedges with electric shears that buzzed like distant hornets. Voss, a seasoned LAPD detective in her mid-40s with a practical bob haircut and a voice honed from too many late-night briefings, coordinated from the driveway, her unmarked sedan parked nose to bumper with Elena's hybrid. "We're treating this seriously," she told Elena over a folding table set up on the patio, where the infinity pool lapped gently against its edges, undisturbed by the chaos. The air carried the sharp tang of chlorine mixed with the earthy residue from the remodel site, now a focal point cordoned off with more tape that snapped in the breeze. Elena nodded numbly, clutching a mug of herbal tea that had gone lukewarm. "He wouldn't leave us like this, Detective. Not Alex." The search kicked off methodically. Voss's team combed the property inch by inch. Officers in khaki vests fanning out across the manicured lawns and down the steep canyon paths behind the house. Flashlights pierced the underbrush even in daylight, rustling bougainvillea vines that released bursts of floral scent. They checked the garage, where Alex's Tesla sat pristine, its doors unlocked and keys dangling innocently from the hall console inside. Forensics techs dusted for prints, mostly the families and the crews from the day before, but nothing out of place. "No signs of violence," one officer reported to Voss, his notepad filling with mundane details. A half-eaten turkey sandwich on the patio plate, crumbs scattered like forgotten clues, and Alex's phone, found buzzing in the grass near the remodel pit, its screen cracked from a low fall but battery still at 80%. The last text was Elena's photo of the kids, time-stamped 12:07 p.m. No outgoing calls after that. Marco Ruiz returned voluntarily that afternoon, his pickup crunching gravel as he pulled up, face etched with worry lines deeper than usual. He met Voss by the site, where the concrete had begun to set, its surface hardening into a dull gray under the afternoon sun that baked the air to a shimmering haze. "I saw him at 2 p.m., Marco said, his voice gravelly from years of shouting over machinery, hands gesturing emphatically. "We finished the pour. I waved goodbye. He was right there, checking his watch." Voss jotted notes, her pen scratching paper. "And you didn't see him leave? No argument? No one else around?" Marco shook his head, sweat beading on his forehead despite the shade from a nearby olive tree. "Nah, it was just us. Crew packed up clean. I figured he went inside or something." The detective eyed the fresh slab, probing its edges with a gloved hand, but it was solid, unyielding, no voids, no disturbances. A K9 unit arrived next, 2 German shepherds straining at leashes, their noses twitching through the sense of soil and slurry, but they alerted to nothing unusual beyond the usual construction odors. Word spread quickly through Beverly Hills' tight-knit elite circles, the kind where gossip traveled faster than traffic on the 405. By evening, local news vans clustered at the gates, their satellite dishes unfolding like mechanical flowers against the twilight sky streaked with pink. Reporters shouted questions as Elena stepped out briefly, flanked by Mia, who clutched her mother's arm. "Mrs. Hargrove, any leads on your husband's whereabouts?" one called, microphone thrust forward. Elena's voice cracked, steady but strained. "We're just asking for help, if anyone saw anything." The segment aired that night on Channel 7, Alex's photo, a professional headshot from his company's website, smiling confidently against a blurred LA skyline, flashing across screens in living rooms from Pasadena to Santa Monica. Tips flooded the hotline, a sighting at a coffee shop in Westwood, another at LAX, but each led to dead ends, lookalikes, mistaken identities. The family clung to routines amid the storm. That first night, they gathered in the media room, the oversized leather sectional swallowing them as a muted TV played coverage on loop. Jordan hacked into Alex's financials with Elena's permission, screens flickering with account balances untouched since the morning. "No withdrawals, no transfers," he murmured, pushing his glasses up, the blue light casting shadows on his pale face. Mia scrolled social media, begging friends to share posts. Find Alex Hargrove trending locally, hearts and prayers pouring in from old clients and golf buddies. Tom, Alex's college friend, stopped by with takeout from their favorite Thai spot on Wilshire, the spicy aromas of Pad CU filling the kitchen temporarily. "He'll turn up," Tom said, hugging Elena awkwardly, his voice thick. "Alex is tougher than this city." But as the clock ticked past midnight, doubt crept in, the canyon winds whistling through the open sliders like a mournful sigh. Voss expanded the canvas the next day, canvassing neighbors door to door along the cul-de-sac. The streets were lined with similar estates, white stucco facades, security cameras blinking red, and residents emerged in robes or athleisure, offering alibis and sympathy. Mrs. Langford from next door, a retired actress with a yappy Pomeranian at her heels, recalled hearing the concrete truck rumble away around 2:30. "But I didn't see Mr. Hargrove after that. Quiet as a mouse that site was." Gate footage from the community entrance showed Alex's Tesla entering at 8:45 a.m., but no departure, the timestamp frozen like a glitch. Traffic cams on Sunset Boulevard caught nothing, no black Tesla weaving through the palm-lined lanes. Underwater drones scanned the infinity pool and nearby creek beds, their hums echoing off the canyon walls, but silt yielded only pebbles and leaves. Interviews with Alex's inner circle painted a picture of stability, no red flags. His business partner, David Klein, met Voss at a downtown cafe, the clatter of espresso machines underscoring his bewilderment. Alex was on top of the world, deals closing left and right. Why vanish now? Elena shared emails about the remodel, visions of family legacy, but no hints of trouble. The emotional toll mounted. Mia skipped classes, her architecture sketches abandoned on the dining table. Jordan barely ate, his coding sessions interrupted by stares at the ceiling. Elena fielded calls from worried relatives. Her sister from East LA driving up with tamales wrapped in foil. The comforting corn masa sent a brief balm. "He's coming back, mija," her sister whispered in the garden, where fireflies weren't but stars pierced the smoggy night. Yet each lead fizzled. A wallet reported at a gas station turned out to be someone else's. A phone ping traced to a dead zone in the hills. A week in, the initial push faltered. Voss called a briefing in the living room, the scent of stale takeout boxes heavy in the air. "We've covered the basics. No foul play evident, no ransom demands. Could be voluntary, though it doesn't fit the profile." Elena's face crumpled, tears tracing paths down her cheeks. Voluntary? He was excited about dinner that night, about us. The detective softened, placing a hand on her shoulder. "We'll keep digging. Wider net, missing persons databases. But resources stretch thin without new evidence." As the team packed up, the remodel site stared back. Its concrete fully cured now, a seamless addition mocking the void it bordered. Tips slowed to a trickle, media interest waned to a footnote in the evening news. The Hargroves were left in the quiet aftermath, the mansion's lights burning late, hope fraying like the edges of the yellow tape still fluttering in the breeze. The search had begun with promise, but for now, it yielded only echoes of a life interrupted, the mystery deepening with every unanswered question. Weeks turned into months, and the Hargrove mansion, once alive with the pulse of family routines, settled into a subdued rhythm shadowed by absence. The Southern California winter brought rare rains that pattered against the glass walls, turning the infinity pool into a rippling mirror of gray skies, while the remodel site stood frozen in time, a half-finished scar on the landscape, its concrete slab now cracked faintly from the settling earth. Elena Hargrove adapted out of necessity, her days blurring into a cycle of work and worry. By day, she threw herself into her interior design firm downtown, sketching concepts for clients in high-rises overlooking the Hollywood Hills, the hum of her drafting table a distraction from the empty chair at home. Evenings found her on the terrace, wrapped in a wool throw against the chill, staring at the city lights that twinkled like distant memories, the faint scent of eucalyptus carried on the wind reminding her of Alex's jogs. The kids bore the weight differently, their youth fracturing under the strain. Mia, now 23 after a subdued birthday in January, had deferred her final semester at UCLA, unable to focus on lectures about sustainable architecture when her father's blueprint dreams haunted her. She spent hours in the garden, pulling weeds from the bougainvillea beds with a ferocity that left her hands blistered, the soil dark and cool under her nails. "It's like the house is holding its breath," she confided one afternoon to Elena, as they sat on the patio with mugs of chamomile steaming in the crisp air. Rain dripped from the olive trees, pooling on the flagstones. Elena reached over, squeezing her daughter's hand, her own rings catching the weak sunlight. "We'll keep breathing for him, mija. He wouldn't want us stopping." But Mia's eyes, so like Alex's, steady and brown, held a flicker of resentment toward the unfinished extension, its wooden forms sagging like forgotten promises. Jordan retreated further into his digital world, his Caltech dorm room a temporary escape until the walls closed in too tight. He returned home most weekends, laptop perpetually open on the kitchen island, running algorithms through old security footage and financial trails that led nowhere. The glow of the screen hollowed his cheeks, and meals became battles, Elena coaxing him with plates of arroz con pollo, the savory aroma filling the kitchen, only for half to go untouched. "Any pings today?" she'd ask softly, sliding a fork toward him. He'd shake his head, voice muffled. "Nothing." It's like he evaporated. Friends drifted in and out, offering awkward support. A college buddy dropping off video games, the clatter of controllers a brief noise in the quiet house. But Jordan's nights were sleepless, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin, the canyon winds howling outside like unanswered questions. Detective Laura Voss's investigation simmered on the back burner, resources diverted to fresher cases in the sprawling LAPD machine. She checked in monthly, her calls crisp and efficient from her desk, cluttered with coffee stains and case files. Still no hits on the databases, she'd report to Elena over the phone, the background hum of radios and footsteps echoing. We've cross-referenced with missing persons nationwide. Nothing matches Alex's description. Elena would pace the living room during these talks, the plush rug muffling her steps, photos of the family on vacation lining the walls like ghosts. What about the remodel crew? Have you re-interviewed them? Voss sighed, the sound heavy with routine. Multiple times. Marco Ruiz is clean. Alibi checked out at a family barbecue that evening. The others too. No grudges, no debts owed. The detective promised to keep the file active, but her tone carried the resignation of cases that faded into archives, the initial fervor cooled by time's indifferent march. Beverly Hills moved on, its glossy facade unbroken. The cul-de-sac's whispers died down, replaced by the usual symphony of leaf blowers and luxury car engines purring to life. Neighbors nodded sympathetically when Elena walked the dog, a golden retriever named Max, who still searched the backyard for Alex, whining at the remodel site's edge. But life resumed, charity luncheons at the Beverly Hills Hotel, where crystal chandeliers sparkled over plates of seared ahi tuna, and gossip shifted to celebrity scandals. Tom, Alex's golf buddy, became a steady presence, organizing informal searches in the canyons with volunteers from the club. They'd hike the trails at dawn, flashlights cutting through the fog, the crunch of boots on dry leaves the only sound besides labored breaths. He could be out here, hurt, Tom would say, sweat beading on his forehead under a faded Brentwood cap. But the searches yielded only discarded water bottles and coyote tracks, the vastness of the hills swallowing their efforts. Elena's family from East L.A. rallied closer, their visits a lifeline of warmth amid the chill. Her sister Rosa arrived every other Sunday, arms laden with foil-wrapped tamales and flan that jiggled in Tupperware, the sweet caramel scent wafting through the house. They'd sit in the kitchen, the marble counters cool under their elbows, sharing stories of Alex's early days, how he'd won her over with a bouquet of wildflowers picked from a construction site. He was solid, Elena. Like that concrete out there, Rosa said one rainy afternoon, gesturing toward the window where droplets raced down the panes. Mia joined them, sketching idly on a napkin, her lines turning into abstract foundations that echoed her father's plans. Jordan even cracked a smile once, helping plate the food, the clink of dishes a rare harmony. Yet grief ebbed and flowed like the tides Alex used to watch from Malibu beaches, some days manageable, others crashing over them in sobs during quiet dinners. The dining table set for 4, one chair eternally empty. Financially, the family held steady. Alex's empire managed by David Klein from the downtown office, deals closing with mechanical precision. But emotionally, cracks widened. Elena attended a support group for families of the missing, held in a community center off Wilshire, the room smelling of instant coffee and folding chairs scraping linoleum. There, amid strangers' tales of lost loved ones, she voiced the fear that gnawed deepest. What if he's out there alone? Or worse? The facilitator, a soft-spoken woman with kind eyes, nodded. Hold on to what you know. He loved you fiercely. Back home, Elena pored over old voicemails, Alex's voice warm and teasing. Pick up the kids, I'll handle dinner. Love you. Playing it looped. The digital echo a tether to the man who'd vanished on that ordinary November day. As spring bloomed in April, the remodel site became a symbol of stasis, weeds pushing through the cracks in the concrete, vines creeping over the forms like nature reclaiming space. Marco Ruiz called once, offering to dismantle it at cost. Can't leave it like this, Mrs. Hargrove, it's not right. Elena declined. Standing at the edge one blooming morning, the sun warming her face, bees humming around the jasmine. Not yet. It was his dream. The city below bustled on, traffic snarling on the 405, oblivious to the quiet vigil in the hills. Time passed, layering dust over the mystery, but the Hargroves endured, their bond forged tighter in loss, waiting for a break that might never come, or one that would shatter everything anew. It was a sweltering July afternoon in Beverly Hills, the kind where the sun beat down mercilessly on the canyon estates, turning the air thick and hazy with heat. The Hargrove mansion, its glass walls reflecting the relentless glare like a mirage, had endured another season of quiet limbo. Elena stood on the terrace, a light scarf draped over her shoulders against the breeze that carried the dry scent of chaparral from the hills. At 53, the lines around her eyes had deepened, etched by months of unanswered questions, but there was a resolve in her posture now, a decision she'd wrestled with for weeks. The remodel site. That unfinished eyesore with its sagging wooden forms and weed-choked concrete slab had become a daily reminder of Alex's absence. "It's time," she'd told Mia and Jordan the night before, over a simple dinner of grilled chicken and salad on the patio, the sizzle of the barbecue mingling with the distant hum of traffic on Sunset Boulevard. Mia had nodded slowly, her fork pausing mid-air, while Jordan stared at his plate, the weight of it settling over them like the gathering dusk. Marco Ruiz pulled up in his dusty pickup just after noon, the engine coughing to a stop on the gravel driveway. He'd aged visibly too, his salt and pepper hair now fully silver at the temples, but his handshake was as firm as ever when he met Elena by the garden gate. The jasmine bloomed wildly around them, its sweet perfume cutting through the earthy tang of the dormant construction zone. "Mrs. Hargrove, you sure about this?" Marco asked, his voice low and respectful, wiping sweat from his brow with a faded bandana. Elena met his gaze, her green eyes steady despite the flutter in her chest. "Alex wanted this done, for the family. We can't let it sit forever." Marco nodded, glancing at the slab where it all began nearly 9 months ago. "All right, we'll start by breaking up the old pour. It settled unevenly, might have shifted in the rains. New foundation for the extension, fresh start." He didn't say it, but the unspoken hung between them. Maybe closing this chapter would bring some peace, or unearth something buried. The crew arrived in 2 trucks, their tools clanging as they unloaded jackhammers and pry bars onto the flagstone patio. The neighborhood stirred faintly, a neighbor's sprinkler hissed in the distance, misting emerald lawns, while a hawk circled overhead, its shadow gliding across the pit like a dark omen. Mia watched from the kitchen window, her hands gripping a mug of iced tea that sweated beads onto the counter, the cool condensation a stark contrast to the heat pressing in. Jordan had insisted on staying home from his summer internship at a tech firm in Silicon Beach, positioning his laptop on the terrace table to monitor any city alerts or news pings about missing persons. "If anything turns up," he'd said earlier, his voice tight, "we'll know right away." Elena joined him there, the wicker chairs creaking under their weight as the first rev of the jackhammer shattered the afternoon quiet. The machine's roar echoed off the canyon walls, vibrations rumbling through the ground like an earthquake's prelude, dust clouds billowing up in gray plumes that stung the eyes and coated throats. Marco directed the work with practiced efficiency, his crew, now including a couple of younger guys in neon vests, chipping away at the slab's edges. The concrete, hardened to unyielding stone over the winter, resisted at first, chunks flying in sharp cracks that punctuated the air. "Easy on the rebar," Marco shouted over the din, his hard hat tilted back, sweat soaking his shirt. One worker, a burly man named Luis with tattoos snaking up his arms, paused to hose down the debris, water sluicing over the fractured surface and turning the dust to mud that splashed onto their boots. The scent sharpened, wet earth mixed with the metallic bite of exposed steel, reminding Elena of that November day, the fresh pour's deceptive smoothness. She forced herself to watch, heart pounding in rhythm with the tool's assault, half expecting Alex to step out from the house like he had before, coffee in hand, ready to oversee. By mid-afternoon, the slab had given way in sections, revealing the pit's deeper layers where the footings lay embedded. The crew worked methodically, prying up larger pieces with crowbars that groaned under the strain, the sun dipping lower and casting long shadows across the yard. Mia brought out water bottles from the cooler, the ice clinking as she handed one to Marco. "This feels wrong, ripping it apart," she murmured, her voice barely audible over the noise, dark curls sticking to her neck in the heat. Marco took the bottle, his expression softening. "Sometimes you gotta break it to build better, kid. Your dad would have said the same." She managed a small smile. but her eyes darted to the growing hole, a yawning void that swallowed the light. Then, around 4 p.m., as the crew tackled the central footing, a deeper pour meant to anchor the entire extension, Luis's jackhammer hit something different. The vibration changed, a dull thud instead of the usual grind, and he killed the engine, wiping grit from his face. "Jefe, over here. Feels off." He called to Marco, who knelt beside him, probing the spot with a trowel. The surface there was intact but bubbled oddly, as if air had trapped beneath during the set. With a few careful strikes, a section cracked free, revealing not just aggregate and rebar, but a glint of metal embedded in the matrix. Marco's breath caught. He reached in with gloved hands, pulling out a chunk of concrete that weighed heavy in his palm. Nestled within, partially fused to the gray mass, was a stainless steel watch. Its band snapped, face cracked but recognizable, the Rolex logo etched clearly under the layer of cured slurry. Elena's world tilted as Marco approached, holding it out like a fragile artifact, his face ashen. "Mrs. Hargrove." This was in the footing, the deep pour from that day. She took it, fingers trembling, the weight familiar yet alien. The very watch Alex had checked at 2:15 p.m., the one he'd worn every day since his first big deal. The second hand was frozen at 2:15. Dust and cement caked into the gears, as if time itself had solidified around it. Mia gasped from the terrace, rushing over with Jordan close behind, his glasses slipping down his nose. "Dad's watch," she whispered, voice breaking, touching the band where Alex's skin had once been. Jordan stared, calculating silently. The timing, the location, his mind racing to the impossible. How? It was wet cement. He was right there. The crew fell silent, tools idle, the jackhammer's echo fading into the canyon's hush. Marco radioed Voss immediately, his voice steady but urgent over the crackle. "Detective, you need to get here. We found something in the concrete. Hargrove's watch, embedded deep." Elena sank onto the patio steps, the watch clutched to her chest, tears blurring the scene as police sirens wailed in the distance, cutting through the heat like a knife. The discovery ripped open wounds they'd scarred over, transforming the remodel from a paused dream into a grave marker. Whispers rippled among the workers. Madre de Dios, how to get in there? While neighbors peered over fences, phones raised to capture the unfolding drama. Voss arrived with her team, floodlights snapping on despite the daylight, forensics techs in white suits swarming the pit like ants on unearthed bone. As they photographed and bagged the evidence, the implications sank in like the settling dust. The watch's position, in the heart of the footing, mixed into the slurry, suggested it had fallen or been dropped during those final moments, before the concrete fully set and hid it away. But how? Had Alex slipped, hit his head, tumbled in unnoticed amid the crew's bustle? Or was it deliberate? A push? A cover-up in plain sight? Elena's mind reeled, flashing to that last kiss, his promise of dinner, the empty table waiting. Mia knelt beside her, arm around her shoulders, the two of them staring at the void where the watch had lain, now a forensic grid of tape and markers. Jordan paced, muttering about reanalyzing the pour logs, the crew's timelines. The sun set in a blaze of orange, painting the canyon in fiery hues, but the chill of revelation settled deep. The shocking find didn't bring Alex back. It unearthed a horror, turning their sanctuary into a crime scene, the mystery no longer just absence, but something buried, waiting to be exhumed. In the months following the watch's unearthing, the Hargrove case transformed from a faded missing persons file into a relentless puzzle that gripped Los Angeles once more. The Beverly Hills mansion, now a fortified hub of investigation, buzzed with activity under the late summer sun, its terrace cordoned off with fresh police tape that fluttered like tattered flags in the canyon breeze. Forensics teams had descended immediately after Marco's call, their white vans lining the cul-de-sac and blocking the view of curious neighbors peering from behind manicured hedges. The air hummed with the low drone of generators powering floodlights that pierced the deepening twilight, casting stark shadows over the excavated pit where the concrete had been jackhammered into rubble. Elena Hargrove sat on the same patio steps where she'd collapsed earlier, The Rolex, now bagged in evidence plastic, passed to Detective Lara Voss, whose face had hardened into a mask of grim determination. "This changes everything," Voss said quietly, her voice cutting through the murmurs of the crew, who stood clustered by their trucks, hard hats in hand, exchanging uneasy glances. Mia knelt beside her mother, one arm wrapped tightly around Elena's shoulders, while Jordan hovered nearby, his phone already pulling up old poor schedules, fingers flying across the screen in a blur. Voss wasted no time. By dawn the next day, the site was a crime scene in full swing, yellow barriers encircling the entire backyard and the infinity pool's edge, where ripples lapped undisturbed against the tile. The scent of fresh earth mingled with the acrid bite of chemical preservatives as techs sifted through the debris, trowels scraping against stone in methodical arcs. The watch's position, embedded 3 feet down in the central footing, fused into the slurry as it cured, defied easy explanation. Lab analysis, rushed through LAPD's priority channels, confirmed it was Alex's, serial number matching his insurance records, microscopic traces of his skin cells on the band from a recent wear. The frozen time, 2:15 p.m., aligned precisely with Marco's last sighting of him alive, standing at the pit's edge. No water damage beyond the initial submersion, the forensic report noted later. Delivered to Voss in a manila envelope at the station downtown, where the hum of fluorescent lights and ringing phones underscored the gravity. It was dropped or placed into wet concrete and left to set, no struggle evident on the casing. Interviews intensified, pulling Marco and his crew back in one by one under the stark interrogation room lights at the West LA division. Marco arrived first, his pickup idling outside as he chain-smoked a cigarette in the parking lot, the July heat waving off the asphalt. Inside, Voss leaned across the table, her notepad open. "Walk me through it again. The pour, the cleanup. Anyone step away? Any arguments?" Marco's eyes, weary from sleepless nights, met hers steadily. "Like I said before, it was routine. We finished the footing around 1:45, smoothed it by 2. Mr. Hargrove was watching, then he checked his watch and turned toward the house. I packed the tools, Luis hosed the edges. No one went near that spot after. Luis, the burly worker who'd unearthed it, corroborated every detail, his tattooed arms crossed defensively. "I swear, Heffa, we didn't see him fall. If he did, it was quick. Maybe he slipped on the loose gravel, hit his head. But why no one here? The pump was loud, yeah, but..." His voice trailed off, the weight of implication hanging heavy. Polygraphs cleared them all, no deception in the spikes of their heart rates. But doubt lingered like the dust that still coated their boots. The investigation branched wider, subpoenaing security footage from every angle. The community's gates showed no unusual vehicles entering or leaving post 2 p.m., just the crew's trucks rumbling out by 2:30. Alex's Tesla yielded prints from Elena and the kids, but nothing foreign. Its GPS logged no movement since 8:45 a.m. Financial deep dives by Jordan's tech-savvy friends, looped in unofficially, revealed no suspicious transfers. Alex's accounts dormant, his real estate deals humming along under David Klein's stewardship. He was clean, David told Voss over coffee at a bustling Brentwood cafe, the clatter of cups punctuating his words. "No enemies I know of." The remodel was his baby. Insurance covered it. No skimping. Elena, meanwhile, pored over home videos in the living room, the glow of the flat screen illuminating her tear-streaked face late into the nights. One clip, from a family barbecue the summer before, showed Alex laughing by the grill, flipping burgers with a flourish, the sizzle and kids' cheers filling the speakers. "See? That's him. Solid. Happy," she whispered to Mia, who nodded, her own grief sharpening into quiet fury. Public interest reignited with a vengeance. Local news vans returned to the cul-de-sac, reporters clustering like paparazzi at the gates, their questions shouted over the whir of helicopter blades from above. Alex Hargrove resurfaces trended on social media, theories exploding in comment sections, accident, foul play, even wilder speculations of a staged disappearance for insurance fraud that Voss dismissed outright. "No motive," she briefed the family in their kitchen one muggy August morning. the scent of Elena's fresh-brewed coffee grounding the tension. Rain pattered against the windows, a rare storm rolling in from the Pacific, turning the canyon into a misty veil. The watch suggests he was there at the end, but no body means no charges. We're excavating the whole site tomorrow. Full dig. Elena's hands trembled on her mug. What if he's under there? Voss placed a reassuring hand on hers. We'll know soon. Hang in there. The dig spanned 2 grueling days, backhoes rumbling across the yard under a sky heavy with clouds, their scoops peeling back layers of soil and shattered concrete. Neighbors watched from afar, whispers rippling through backyard fences about the body in the foundation. But the pit yielded nothing. No remains, no clothing, just rebar and aggregate. Soil samples tested negative for blood or accelerants, the earth undisturbed beyond the pore's natural settling. He vanished into thin air after dropping it, Voss concluded in her report, filed with a sigh at the station, where case files towered like unspoken regrets. Theories shifted. Perhaps Alex fell in briefly, retrieved himself, but suffered a medical event, aneurysm, heat stroke, and wandered off disoriented into the canyons, his body lost to the rugged terrain. Searches resumed there, drones buzzing over chaparral thickets, but coyotes and time erased any trace. Today, nearly a year after the disappearance, the case remains open but cold, a footnote in LAPD's vast ledger. Elena has resumed her design work, channeling grief into a foundation for missing families, her office overlooking the Hollywood sign a daily reminder of resilience. Mia graduated UCLA in the spring, her thesis on adaptive architecture dedicated to Alex, while Jordan codes for a startup in Venice Beach, algorithms still quietly scanning databases for leads. The mansion's extension stands half-built now, a modest gym completed in Alex's memory, its concrete fresh and unmarred. Marco's crew finished it pro bono, a quiet atonement. Voss checks in quarterly, her voice a steady anchor. We're not giving up. But the watch, locked in evidence, ticks no more. A relic of a moment frozen, leaving the Hargroves with facts that explain little, the heart of the mystery as elusive as the man himself. As the first anniversary of Alex Hargrove's disappearance approached, the Beverly Hills mansion stood as a quiet testament to endurance, its modernist lines softened by the golden hues of an October sunset filtering through the glass walls. The infinity pool shimmered under the fading light, its surface unbroken, save for the occasional ripple from a light breeze rustling the bougainvillea along the terrace. Elena Hargrove sat there alone most evenings now, a glass of Chardonnay in hand, the cool condensation tracing paths down the stem as she gazed at the city sprawl below. The lights of Los Angeles twinkled to life like hesitant stars, a vast, indifferent canvas that had swallowed her husband whole. At 53, Elena had found a fragile rhythm in the chaos, mornings starting with yoga on the patio, the mat damp from dew, followed by drives to her design firm, where she'd sketch renovations that echoed Alex's vision but carried her own touch of warmth. Yet, in these twilight moments, the weight returned, heavy as the canyon fog that sometimes rolled in from the Pacific, muffling the distant hum of traffic on the 405. The family had scattered slightly, each carving paths through the grief, but the mansion remained their anchor. Mia, now 23 and fresh out of UCLA, had landed an internship at a sustainable architecture firm in Santa Monica, her days filled with site visits to eco-friendly builds along the coast. She'd commute from home, her beat-up Honda Civic crunching over the gravel driveway each morning, radio tuned to indie podcasts that drowned out the silence. "I'm making foundations that last, Dad," she'd whisper to the empty passenger seat, her dark curls whipping in the wind from the open window. On weekends, she'd tinker in the garden, planting native wildflowers around the completed gym extension, a simple space with floor-to-ceiling mirrors and weights that Alex would have used for his morning routines. The concrete floor there gleamed smooth and new, poured under Marco's watchful eye. But Mia avoided lingering too long, the faint scent of fresh slurry always evoking that fateful afternoon. Jordan, at 20, had channeled his intensity into his Caltech studies, excelling in data science with a focus on predictive algorithms. His room upstairs still bore traces of his obsessive searches, whiteboards scrawled with timelines and probability charts, the dry erase markers scattered like forgotten clues. He'd moved into a shared apartment near campus to cut commute time, but returned often, laptop underarm, to update the family on his latest scans of public databases and traffic cams. "I've got a script running on missing persons patterns," he'd explain over dinner, the clink of forks on plates punctuating his words as Elena served her signature pozole, steam rising in spicy clouds from the bowls. "If there's a match, height, build, last seen, it'll flag it." His voice carried a quiet defiance, glasses reflecting the kitchen pendant's warm glow, but Elena saw the toll. The way his shoulders slumped when another lid fizzled, or how he'd stare at old family photos on the fridge, magnets holding images of Alex at Jordan's high school graduation, arms slung proudly around his son's neck. Detective Lara Voss had become an unlikely constant, her quarterly check-ins evolving into something more personal. She'd stop by unannounced sometimes, pulling her unmarked sedan into the driveway with a familiar crunch, bearing takeout from a Thai spot on Wilshire, the same one Tom had brought that first chaotic night. They'd sit on the terrace, the jasmine heavy in the evening air, Voss's practical bob now streaked with a few more grays. "File's still active," she'd say, sipping iced tea from a condensation-flecked glass, her notepad tucked away for once. "We've run the watch through every angle. Forensics says no DNA beyond Alex's, no tool marks suggesting force. But that positioning, it's like he was right there." Then poof. Elena would nod, tracing the rim of her glass, the cool ceramic grounding her. Was it an accident? A slip no one saw amid the noise? Voss would lean back, the wicker chair creaking, her eyes scanning the remodel site now integrated seamlessly into the yard. Possible. Crew timelines hold, no gaps big enough for foul play. Or maybe he wandered off, heat exhaustion, confusion, and the canyons took care of the rest. "We've got drones mapping those trails again next month." But the questions lingered like shadows at dusk, refusing to fade. How had the watch embedded so deeply, fused into the footing's core, without a trace of struggle? The pour logs showed the slurry level at 2:10 p.m., smoothed by 2:20. Plenty of time for it to sink if dropped. But why no splash, no call for help? Marco Ruiz had wrestled with it too, his construction firm thriving on high-end jobs but haunted by the Hargrove project. He'd dropped by once after the dig, toolbox in hand to fix a loose patio tile, his silver hair catching the sunlight. "I replay it every night, Mrs. Hargrove," he'd admitted, kneeling by the edge, trowel scraping grout. We were all focused, pump roaring, concrete flowing. If he fell in, maybe he hit his head silent, sank quick, but no body. That's what eats at me. Elena had knelt beside him, the flagstones warm under her knees. "You gave him his dream, Marco. That's what matters." He'd nodded, but his eyes held the same doubt, the what-ifs stacking like unset rebar. Friends in the community had woven a safety net of sorts. Tom organized annual hikes in Franklin Canyon, groups trudging the paths where Alex used to jog, the crunch of leaves underfoot a rhythmic tribute. "He'd want us moving forward," Tom said during one, sweat beading on his forehead as they paused at a viewpoint, the city sprawling below like a glittering puzzle. Elena's East LA family visited more, Rosa bringing batches of homemade churros dusted with cinnamon, the sugary scent filling the kitchen during movie nights. Light-hearted pics to ease the ache, laughter bubbling amid tears. Yet, in quieter moments, Elena wondered about the life unlived. The wine cellar Alex planned, shelves for vintages from Tuscany trips they'd dreamed of, the media room for family movie marathons, Jordan's coding projects projected big. The kids echoed it, Mia sketching expansions she'd never build alone, Jordan coding apps for lost loved ones, a quiet vigil in lines of code. Today, the case hovers in limbo, a cold file in Voss's drawer, but the Hargroves refuse to let it calcify. Elena's foundation, echoes of absence, hosts support groups in a cozy space off Rodeo Drive, folding chairs arranged in circles under pendant lights, where families share stories over coffee that brews strong and comforting. "Alex taught me to build through the breaks," she tells new members, her voice steady, green eyes reflecting the empathy she's forged from pain. Mia contributes designs for safe home renovations. Jordan donates his algorithms. The watch, retrieved from evidence after the case cooled, sits in a velvet box on the mantel, its cracked face a frozen 215, a talisman of the man who built empires from grit. What really happened that sweltering November day? Did Alex slip away unnoticed, claimed by the earth he loved shaping? Or does a darker truth lurk in the overlooked corners of that busy site? A hidden grudge, a momentary lapse. The concrete cured its secrets long ago, but the questions endure, pulling at the threads of certainty. In Beverly Hills, where fortunes rise and vanish like morning mist, Alex Hargrove's story reminds us, even the sturdiest foundations can hide voids, and some mysteries echo forever, urging us to look closer at the lives we think we know.